I'll get that. Hey everyone, how's it going today? Thank you for chiming in on a steaming hot day in New York. So hopefully I had to turn the air off because it was too noisy. So thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing really well. Today we have all my courses on sale just on top. If you hit the tip jar, I really appreciate it. All my courses are on sale through my website, 25% off. And what I'm going to talk about today is actually on two of my courses. I want to talk about, first of all, thanks to Phil Mingan for being here as always as the moderator. So, all right. So today I want to talk about an 8-bar blues with a bridge. So it's a lot of tunes, but right now, when I had first heard it, it was probably Someday After a While. And the version I was most familiar with is from the Hard Road record from John Mayall and the Blues Breakers featuring Peter Green. So what is a 8-bar blues? Well, it's not a 12-bar blues. It's 8 bars long, and it's really pretty important that you know this form because it's a lot of tunes. It's not just Someday After a While. That was the first one that I heard it as, but tons of other tunes. So first thing we have is F. We have a 1-6-2-5-1 that we start off on the top. Now, if you go through my YouTube channel, there's a Peter Green sort of example, and I paraphrase kind of what he had played on that record on the intro. So you can take a look at that too. So I have a 1-6-2-5, and I'm in F. Why did I choose F? Well, because Freddie King's in F, and the version from the Hard Road record's also in F. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to stay in F. So first I have a 1-6-2-5-1. So let me just play that for you. So 1-6-2-5-1. So what does that mean? First chord in the key of F is 1. 2, count 1 as your first note each time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we go up 6 notes. So we have F, G, A, B, C, D. That's our 6. A 2 would be, well, if F is 1, G is 2. 5, F, G, A, B, C. So it's C. Now in this case, in this particular tune, we're going to make them all dominant 7th chords. So it's F7 to D7 to G7 to C7 back to F7. Okay? Now, very often, a 1-6-2-5-1 would be 1 dominant 7, 6 dominant 7, 2 minor 7, 5 dominant 7, 1. That's kind of more common in jazz. You still hear a ton in blues. So it's either or. But traditionally in jazz, it's always going to be a 2 minor 7, and very often in blues tunes, especially in this one, it's a dominant 7th chord. And I'll get into the reason why that sounds pretty cool that we make it a dominant 7th chord. So I have 1, 6 is D, 2 is G7, 5 is C7, then my 1. And we do our turnaround. B flat, my 4, 1, then to 5, augmented, which is really sweet. And how do you play an augmented chord? Well, it's a major chord with a raised fifth. So just take a C chord, and you raise that fifth, which would be C, which would be G, so you just play a G sharp. And if it sounds familiar, you know the first chord of Oh Darlin', right, an E. First chord of a lot of blues tunes like Stormy Monday. Alright, so it's a 5 augmented. You could do a 5 dominant 7, so I get that. That works too, but adds a little more tension, right? Okay, so there's our 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. So we're going to start off the tune like that. I have the track that's included. That does that too. And you have the chart. Now my chart, I didn't write the turnaround in on the top. So you would start it off with the 1, 6, 2, 5, 1 turnaround that you can see in the chart as you follow along. But the track does it. Okay, so it's really important that you get that down. Now let's run through the chords and I'll talk about things we could think about. So we have a 1, here's the verse. It's a 1 dominant 7, so F7, so F to F7. To B flat major, to B diminished. And my 1, 6, and 2, and 5. 1, my little turnaround. B flat, B diminished. 1, 6, 2, and 5, and 1, and 4, and 1, and 5 augmented. Okay, so let's talk about some cool fingerings. So I'm just playing F this way. I went to F7 just because it sounds good. B flat. I am playing this, but a lot of times I don't play that root. Kind of grab that. And I'm going to play B diminished 7. So a lot of people may not be 100% clear on your B diminished 7th chord. So think about B flat 7 on my inside 4 strings. So I have B flat, F, A flat, and D. And all we do is sharp our root. Right? So we get that. We have that 4, sharp 4, diminished, and our 1, 6, 2, 5. And we'll talk about all this in a sec. Then we go to the bridge that I kept on screwing up on the recording. Then the bridge is we go to the 4. And my 5. Right? Then we go back to the top. Right? Right? All that kind of stuff. That 1, 6, 2, 5, 1 turnaround again. All right, so let's talk about some of those voicings because it's really important because we don't want to play because that sounds terrible. So the main thing, let's check out the first thing on my F chord. We're going to use this on our B flat too. A lot of times I'm playing my F chord or F7 like this. So my thumb gets my bass note. If I have a bass player, I may not even do that. My first finger is going to bar the D, G, and the B string right here. I'm going to hammer in right there with my second finger, so I end up forming an F7 chord. So I'm hammering on that A flat, but you don't really, it's just an ornamentation. Then I flatten out my third finger, get a quick kind of B flat, right? So now F7, I might just go that. I might get that pinky there on the F7. That B flat, now that B diminished. Now the B diminished chord, we can do this really cool idea where we move up our diminished 7th chord in minor thirds. So B diminished 7 is spelled B, D, F, and A flat. If you notice, each of those notes are 1 1/2 steps apart. They're equidistant, all minor thirds apart from each other, right? So each of those notes can be at the root. So we often refer to the root of a diminished chord as the one that's our lowest note. And what I'm doing is just going, sliding up to the D, which is a flatted 3, sliding up to the F, which is the flatted 5, and the A flat is the double flat 7. So check it out. It's going to go. Adds, that's a tied to the train track thing, right? Now, I guarantee you the first time you try to do this, you're going to mess it up. Because sometimes I still mess it up. I go like, oop. You kind of it's easy to miss when you're doing that. So you want to be really careful about what your root is, how far you're moving up. I'm looking at my second finger as the note, right, that I want to keep a track on, my root. I want to think about that. So that's what keeps me focused in on it. And then back to my 1-6-2-5-1. So let's talk about that a little bit. So we got. Okay, so here I'm playing a very common thing you see jazz and blues guitar players do. I'm playing a really small version of the chord. I'm getting my tritone. So I have my F in the bass, E flat, and A. So the tritone is this note between the third and the flatted 7th of my dominant 7th chord. It's what makes the chord sound like a dominant 7th chord. Right? So I have my F in the bass. Now check this out, guys. I'm going to go, actually I'm going to play it this way. I'm going to play F with my thumb, because I like to play that with my thumb. And then I'm going to play, I get this E flat with my first finger, and my third finger gets the A. I'm going to go up to D, looks like a D9 chord. I'm just going to play those 3 strings. So it's D, F sharp, and C. There's my root and my tritone. Then back a little bit, right back 1 fret, and I change the bass note. So I get. Right, a 1-6-2-5-1. I got rhythm. Right, the rhythm changes, the same kind of thing. So I'm just changing my bass note. But this fingering is cool. So it's a really important one to get down, because it brings us to the main motion of the chord, which is that. Right? Okay, so that's our main 1-6-2-5-1 motion. Then I'm going to play 4. Then if I want to go now to my bridge, I get my 1 to 1 dominant 7. So I go F, B flat, really common lick that you want to play there. It's in pretty much all the versions of this. So I'm going up to B flat here on the 6th fret, B flat 7, and I'm going to play that same voicing we talked about before. I've got my B flat with my thumb in the bass, I'm going to bar with the D, G, and B strings. I'm going to hammer on that 3rd. Flatten out the 3rd finger, and I get what looks like a little bit of an E flat chord. Back to the 1. Right. Same move on the F. And watching the G. Now C7 or C9. C7 sharp 9 Hendrix chord. Right, back to the top. All right, so let's talk about that in a minute. So everybody have this? Everybody kind of following along? I know it's a lot. Hold on, I'm going to tilt my fan on me a little more. It's hot in here. Hold on. There we go. Fan's on me. All right, so the 16251 up there, I'm sorry, we're talking about the diminished chord. Now, actually I asked if everybody's been following along. That's what I asked. All right, so I'll assume everybody's kind of following along. You got the chart. And now let's take a look. I can start to move up to another position. This is really important to do. You want to learn how to do what I just did first down here. But, you know, you don't want to play the whole blues down there, right? Because that's going to just limit you into what you want to do. So what do? You move up to the other position. You start working through it. So I have F major, right? I can just go to F7. You know, it can be very simple with the chords. Actually, sometimes these really simple chords sound good, too. There's my B flat major, if I want. And then here's B flat diminished 7th right here. So once again, a B diminished 7th chord is like a B flat dominant 7th chord with a sharped root. There's my B flat. If I want to move it up with my thumb, I'm going to refinger it like this. All right, so I'm thinking that same voicing moving up in minor thirds. The other voicing, which is really great to do, is this one. And it looks like, if you're familiar with a minor 7 flat 5 chord, it looks like that fingering. So here I'm going to have, here, important. This case, I see my root on the high string. It makes it so much easier to grab this chord. So I'm going from B7, and I want to sharpen my B flat 7. I'm sharpening my root. So if I look, there's B flat 7 with my root right here. So I end up bringing up that note, the root up a half step. See what I mean? So it looks like, we could almost see it for you guys who are really hanging on. It's a B flat 7 sharp 9 chord. Okay, so B diminished, there's my root on top. And as I move it up in minor thirds, I'm going to follow that same motion. Right? So that's that cool move. Or I can go in the reverse direction. Back to the F. One more time with feeling. So 4 chord, diminished. So I can bring the diminished chord down to bring me down to a lower voicing. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, so right now, I'm on my diminished 7th chord, right? And now I'm going to go back to my 1 chord. So I'm going to do 1 major, just F major is cool, guys. B7, D7, excuse me, there's my 2, my 6, D7, G7, C7, 1, 4, 1, augmented. So let's think about the augmented chord, which is really kind of cool too. So we have C augmented, but an augmented chord, each note is a major third apart. So watch. We can move that augmented chord in major thirds. So that's a really kind of fun thing to do too. So it works like diminished. Diminished all minor thirds. Augmented is only 3 notes, but they're major thirds. So that's a really kind of fun thing to do because it can get you from point A to point B pretty easily. Okay. So, all right, so I'm going to go up to here. Here's my 1 dominant 7, right? And then I'm going to go to my 4, sharp 4 diminished 7th, we call it. My 1, 6, D7, 2, G7, 5, which is the C7, 1, and B flat, 1 dominant 7. Now we're in. Now it might be flat, right? I almost always go to this. Because that's the lick we want. That kind of moves. So I almost always play those the same way. You know, if I've got a keyboard player who's doing, I might play the chord, you know, just like. Right? Let them do that lick, but important lick. I think Bonamassa does this on that record with Beth Hart as well. So that's a great version. But for me, I love the hard road version. And like I said in the beginning of the video, that I have a a lesson here on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already, where I show you what Peter Green kind of does on the intro of that. That where I go, you know, yeah, that, you know, that lick, yeah. Let's hear that lick. That's a fun one. I'll play it. See if I can play it right. Haven't practiced it today. There we go. Yeah. So that's in my YouTube channel. All right. Clapton, yes, does a great version. So let's say, I've probably got to say hi to everyone just before we get to the questions and everything like that. All right. So, wow, everybody's here? Everybody's here. I appreciate it, guys. All right. So, Tom Manette, hey, what's up? Richard and Sarah, Michael Mingan, Phil's younger brother. Nice to meet you, man. Thanks for being here. Our Love 105, bro. Hirmir Ingvarsson. Oh, from Iceland. Oh, awesome, man. From Sweden, Groen? Please excuse my pronunciations, which are horrendous, I'm sure. Chad. S.E. Nesbitt. Yeah, thanks, everybody, for being here. Matt Gibson, what's up, man? Mike Anderson. Hope everybody's doing well. David Keynes. Thanks, everybody, for being here. All right, so questions, please let me know. Now, one thing that you may have noticed as I'm just going to play again, because I think we kind of like everybody just playing a little more than talking, right? All right, let's watch my right hand. Playing 2 and 4. I'm accenting that 2 and 4, right? And 4 and 1. Right? 2, 4 and 1, 2 and 1. Oh, yeah. Lower chord. You weren't doing that. So you really want to kind of work on that 2 and 4. And what is the 2 and 4? It's what the bass drum and the snare is playing. So the snare is on beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You want to think about if you're just getting into playing, well, how can I play over this and play well without just kind of banging out the chords? Beats 2 and 4 is a great exercise to go through. And then I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. So the underlying thing is 12/8. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's talk about that. All right. So we're in 12/8, technically. 1, 2, 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so what 12/8 means, it's 12 groups of quarter notes, or eighth notes, excuse me. I fail. 12 groups of eighth notes. So there's 4 groups of triplets. So 1, 2, 3, it's hard to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So 1, 2, 3. Triplets are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm coming back to my conducting class from college. So you have those 4 groups of triplets. So when somebody says to you, let's play something in 12/8, they almost always mean a slow blues, and that ride, because you're implying this 12/8 feel as opposed to a 4/4 feel. It's not a straight blues. But sometimes it's easier to count it in 4 if we're talking about hitting that snare drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3. I suppose you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3. Right? So if you look at my right hand when I was playing, I'm hitting my beats 2 and 4, but this hand is going. So I'm kind of implying this 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, sorry, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I might not be playing all of that. Right? That's too much, but I'm going to imply it, and I'm going to start to pull back. So if I have that feel in my hand, and I'm playing beats 2 and 4, right? It feels different than going 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and that feels terrible. So it's this 12/8 feel. Your right hand is keeping those triplets. Right? That's really important to get the feel of this right, or if not, it's going to feel terrible, honestly. So it's all coming from my right hand. I'm paying attention to that snare drum. Bass drum's on 1 and 3, and the snare is on 2 and 4, which is really, if you put in a 12/8 feel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it depends on how you want to count it, but you definitely want to keep that triplet underride going. Right? Right? And like in Stormy Monday, it's the same kind of feel, right? It's a 12/8 feel. And at some point, they double up on the feel, right? They give it a double time feel. So you get that same thing, which is a nice thing to jump into if we were to do it with the band. So like... right, that little double time feel for a minute, then you go back into that regular feel. All right, let's talk about that little lick. So I like that on the augmented chord. I'm just going up augmented, playing my D, F. So that's a cool sound. So it's a cool little line. It's a great little lead line too. Okay, so you want to learn how to play over those changes, but that's for next week. We'll talk about playing over these changes next week. It's super important that we learn the changes first if you want to play over this and nail those chord changes. So next week, we're going to run over how to solo over these changes, which it's really important to do because it's a ton of tunes, ton of tunes. And knowing how to navigate this change is really important. But the most important thing is knowing how to play the changes. Sounds obvious, right? But come on, how many times do we learn a guitar solo or start working on something and we're not really thinking about the chord changes, right? I think the majority of my younger guitar playing life was like that. So, you know, so we're going to try to avoid that. All right, so let's see if we got any questions. All right. Thanks for everybody who's throwing out the compliments. I really enjoy doing this too. Thanks for being here. Please share the love. I'm happy that everybody's here. We seem to have the slowly growing group of people, and I'd love your help in expanding it. That'd be fun. All right, so we got some questions. Ideas for playing over the diminished chord. Well, we can talk about that next week, but the main thing we can do, which is pretty interesting, is just this little lick. And that's a diminished seventh arpeggio. So I'm just playing the notes of the B diminished seventh chord. Excuse me. So let's hear that. Just gonna play that. I don't want to get too into playing over the changes. That's next week. You gotta wait. All right, so I'll play that lick from the top, right? Here's my one, right? So F, F7. Here's my B flat. And here's that diminished seventh lick, arpeggio. Yeah. Oh, that was great. So those mistakes are on the house. Clams are free. All right, so I play the diminished seventh arpeggio right there, just as we went, just right when that chord's there. Well, hey, I mean, if you have a diminished seventh arpeggio and diminished seventh chord, and that moves up in minor thirds, the arpeggio can as well. Right? All right, so we just played the notes of the chord, which is not surprising, right? It's all kind of funny. Can you contrast Key to the Highway with this? Well, yeah, Key to the Highway is completely different. Key to the Highway is just a different 8-bar blues. So in my mind, there's two 8-bar blues tunes. There's this style, which is a lot of tunes, and you usually have a bridge with it. And then Key to the Highway is just like 1, 4, 5. Sorry, no, that's 1 to 5. So I go 1 to 5, 3, 4, and 1 A, E, 4, right? Then 1 E. Then you turn around. Right, so to me it's very different. It's a blues in the fact that it's part of the blues repertoire, but it's not really a blues. So is this a blues? Yeah, because it's a 1-4-5, the other 1-6-2-5-1. So they're just kind of common blues tunes. But there's two kinds of 8-bar blues. If somebody says to me 8-bar blues with the bridge, I know what they mean. They mean this. And if someone says to me Key to the Highway, I know what they mean. It's kind of like Stormy Monday when somebody says, hey, let's play Stormy Monday, or they might say, let's play this tune, insert blues title here, but we're going to do the changes to Stormy Monday. So with that, we always know that the change to Stormy Monday is that whole, stuff, all those changes, right? So same thing with Key to the Highway. Key to the Highway almost always play as Key to the Highway. Someday After a While is the 8-bar blues with the bridge. Okay. I'm wearing shorts and camera again. Yeah, man. 90 degrees in New York right now and 79% humidity in a Brooklyn apartment. Yeah. Never wear shorts on stage. All right. Okay. My camera freezing. This little thing seems like it's doing something weird. You added some alternate chords for the walk down. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So we can spice up those turnarounds a little bit, right? 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. First one, I'm just going to play C9 on the D9 on the 6 and C9 on the 5. So. I like the sound of that one. Right? So I did 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. Now, if you look through my YouTube channel, there's some 1, 6, 2, 5, 1 lessons, and I'm happy to run over them again, but they're there too. So 1, and what I ended up doing here is I just wanted to get a little more harmony on the stuff. So I went to 1, D7, sharp 9, flat 13. What? The Hendrix chord, flat out the pinky. D9, sharp to 9, flat to 13. And I'm going to bring that down. That gives me G13. I put the G in the bass, bring it down a half step, and I get C7, sharp 9, flat 13, back to 1, 13. But if we look at those top notes, which is a whole other lesson in its own, they're the same top 4 strings. Right? So I can do and let the bass player do what they want. So that kind of gets into some other stuff with tritone substitutions, which is just a whole other can of worms that we can get into moving down, but moving to the next lesson and stuff. But this is a great one to do. And you can experiment with any of those altered tensions, which is a great lesson I want to get into at some point. There I did a F7 to D9 to G7, flat 13, with the flat 9, to C9. That's kind of pretty too. Right? All sorts of stuff. With common tones. It's a whole other lesson we can get into. But yeah, those are things that you can really start to think about, how you can alter the tensions on your 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. The deeper you get, like this sort of thing, like that, where I did, the further you start getting away from sounding like Freddie King or John Mayall, which is cool. It gets a lot jazzier. It gets into like Robin territory and jazz, a little more jazzy. And that's a great sound to work on too. So, yeah. This is, like I said, it's a really important tune to learn. Play along with the jam track. Just, keep on playing through it and playing through it. I attach it on the in the Dropbox link. So there you go. All right, so any questions? So you guys had 107 there today. Wow. That's terrible. Yeah, it's pretty hot here. Anyway. When are we going to do a lesson on Stormy Monday? Probably never. The only reason why is I hate that tune. I gotta say. I like it when the Allman Brothers play it, and I like it when T-Bone Walker plays it. I teach it in one of my courses, which is the 50 authentic blues licks, 25% off in my classroom, in my YouTube page, on my website. That's like one of those songs that when you're on a jam, and I've run a lot of jams, and I've played a lot of jams, and done a lot of workshops, and all these kind of things, and someone says, let's do Stormy Monday, and you're like, there's 5 guitar players on stage, and you're like, oh boy, this is going to be really long, right? Really, really, really long. That's the problem. It's like one of those tunes that everybody starts to play, and it can go on for like 20 minutes of the same thing. The Almonds did it well because they're just great. They switched up with the double time. It was great. That's the classic version. I kind of feel like, all right, I'm gonna say it that way with Little Wing. I don't want to hear anybody play Little Wing except for 2 versions. People are gonna say, yeah, but this version and that version, this version, that version. Listen to Hendrix, and he never jammed on Little Wing. He just played the song. He played the perfect guitar solo at the end, and he never jammed on it. So for me, Little Wing, 'cause I've played it in so many gigs, and then it's slow. So you take the solo in Little Wing, and then you point to the next guy, and then they take the solo, and the next guy takes the solo, and it never ends. So you got to know when to get out, and that's one of those songs that I think if you ever hear those Hendrix versions, and man, there's some great live Hendrix versions. He just kills it. And then Stevie did a great version, of course. That was like one of those jam ones where he did a spectacular version of it. But generally speaking, when somebody calls that at a jam, I get kind of, I don't care if Clapton jammed on it. I don't care. I don't like the Clapton version. I've said it. The Hendrix version, to me, that's the one. Just that song goes on too long. I know amazing controversy that I don't like jamming on Little Wing. All right, all my students know it. That being said, learn how to play Little Wing. Man, that is like one of the most incredible tunes to learn how to get that Jimi Hendrix rhythm guitar playing style together. It is completely a lesson on its own. You want to learn how to play Little Wing, and then don't play it on gigs. Yes, my Copa, I am planting the flag. What about other Freddie King? Some other day, other time. I don't remember that one. I don't know that one off the top of my head. The Townsend version, Clapton version is not bad, not super satisfying. Bummed me out as a kid. Yeah, it's the Hendrix version. And there was a record called Jimi Hendrix The Concerts, and I think it was one of those ones that they fought over the rights to, and it is available, but there's a version on that which is just unbelievable, and it's not that much longer it's no longer than the original, and he plays so great on that Rainbow concert version. Thanks man, that's the one. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, right, that version is unbelievable. He sings great. It's just the vibe. It's so killer. So for me, that's one of those tunes. I can go on about all these things. And the reason. Okay, so Bernardino Marino, Hideaway, great tune. The reason why I'm choosing the tunes I'm choosing to teach, because YouTube is full of great lessons on how to play Hideaway. You don't need me to show you how to play Hideaway. If you want to learn how to play Hideaway, and I mean this with the most due respect, I tell my students too, like, yeah, if you want to learn a song, go learn it on YouTube, and then we can talk about it. With Someday After a While, I wanted to talk about the form of the song and things that you can do on it, and how you can start to kind of have some more fun with it. Hideaway, you have to know how to play Hideaway because it's a great tune. You know what I mean? It's a classic, and I know how to play Hideaway, and it's a great song. You should learn how to play it. I also like kind of thinking about the Freddie King version is just a little different. Eric played it. He played it up there, and Freddie played it down there. So those little kind of subtleties that make it really cool. But for me, my consummate version for that is definitely the Blues Breakers, because that was the first one that I had learned. All right. Somebody sent me a Venmo. Rick Beavers. Please let Jeff know that the Venmo is for teaching me Little Wing. All right. That's pretty funny. Very funny. There's some great versions of Little Wing being taught. Like I said, I think you should check it out. Andy Alador does some great stuff. There's a bunch of really great versions of it online. Okay. What's the best course to learn the voicings you've been using? Excellent. That's a great question, Chris. Right, Delaney, what's up, buddy? My blues comping, Take 5 blues comping. That would be a really good course for this. And the one that I teach a lot of this stuff on is in my advanced rhythm guitar course, Essentials Advanced Rhythm Guitar. That one is, I talk about all these kind of chords. We go through a bunch of blues classics and some not so well-known ones. There's one that I love to play through on that course. It's called Shake Dancer. And I do a version of it. It's by Little Walter. If you guys check out the tune Shake Dancer, it is really a cool tune. And it's got all those Little Walter kind of chords that really great one to check out. Shake Dancer by Little Walter. Not as well known as the other ones, but Kirk Fletcher and I have spoken about that tune as being one of those songs where, like, man, that song is I learned so much stuff from that course. So so speaking of which, Kirk Fletcher. All right, so this weekend on the conversations, we have Osnoy coming up on Saturday. The time may be different. Please take a look, just because I got to do some stuff in the morning that's super important. And so I might have to move the time, or I might do pre-recorded, which is cool. So the next upcoming people, we have Osnoy next, Kirk Fletcher following that, Greg Koch is coming on, so 3 great people, and Rick Beato is coming on the show. Rick said to me, "Why haven't you invited me on your show?" So here we go. Rick is going to be coming on the show. Well, the date is to be set, but I'm going to have Rick on, so that's super cool. So, all right. What other blues forms are important to know? Well, okay, that's a great question. This is from Ken Keys, right? No, I'm sorry. Les Lee, excuse me. What are the good blues forms to know? Okay, and I'm not trying to push you towards my courses. Please don't think that. There's a bunch. I have courses that teach all of these. There's 30 authentic blues licks, 30 authentic blues grooves, and then my Blues Fake Book Volume 2. Corey did Volume 1. The first thing I would recommend you do is check out Chess Records Greatest Hits. That's really huge for me, because a lot of people think blues tunes are shuffles, right? And some of them are. So if you grew up listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, which I did and love, my repertoire of blues tunes were like kind of Texas shuffles, and there's nothing wrong with them. But then I realized there's this whole other world. So the Chess Records recordings are really great. Just the Chess Greatest Hits, like My Babe, High Heeled Sneakers, Tramp, Key to the Highway. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music, just check out Chess Records Greatest Hits or the Chess Records collection. Those are cool. Obviously the B.B. King stuff, it's not all just, there's some changes. And there's a tune called I'll Survive by B.B. King that has these changes. The tune that Fleetwood Mac covers, Peter Green, I always forget the name of it. Need Your Love So Bad. So it's an 8-bar blues with a bridge. So it's just this as well. So another example of an 8-bar blues with a bridge. So also to finish your question, what's also important is to know riffs. And I played with some very traditional blues bands for a while, which was kind of fun. And frankly, I had a little bit of hubris on my part, like, yeah, this is easy, And then I just realized, listening back to some of the recordings, that I really sounded terrible because I was trying to do too much. I was trying to be too cool, on the tracks, and then I just ended up sounding like an idiot because I wasn't respecting the music. So that's an important lesson that I learned after I got a little bit of a stink eye at a few gigs. So for instance, the guys were like, it's an uptown groove. And an uptown groove means right? Right? Okay. Downtown groove. And these guys that I played with got really... I started like, no, it's a downtown groove. And he wouldn't play the tune because that's not the way they played Checking on My Baby. That was a downtown groove or an uptown groove. I couldn't remember. And he was really like, no, it's not right. I'm like, oh. So that's just me. And maybe he was a little crazy about that stuff. But it was important, though. So to know those tunes and know, how Checking on My Baby goes by Sonny Boy Williamson and all those great tunes. He shook me. Those little things that make the song the song. That's what you need to know. Okay, so Les, you have several of my courses, and you'll look into those too. Cool, thanks. Keith Williams, what's up, man? How's it going? Looking forward to Keith and I are going to be doing a little stuff together, which I'm totally psyched to do. I think we'll have a lot of fun with that upcoming project we're doing. So thanks for joining, Keith. Love having you here. We call it the groove lumpy, and the reverse lumpy on the West Coast. That's funny. I've not heard that one, but that's awesome. I asked him what's a crosstown groove. Is a crosstown groove then? I never got an answer on that. So what I was saying before, like learning those grooves, knowing what they are, and any kind of guy who's a classic, okay, let me put it this way. And I did a few pickup gigs, as you do with a guitar player, and I did a blues gig, and the guys were like, "Oh, do you know this tune?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You know this tune?" "Yeah." And they're like, "Wow, you know all the tunes. Like, how do you know all the songs? You have all the riffs right." I'm like, "It's my job." So it's like a jazz musician has to know the jazz standards. If you don't know the jazz standards, then you're not playing the repertoire. Same thing with blues stuff. So it became important that I knew the songs, because if I didn't know the songs, how could I do the gig? But they were really always surprised that I had the riff right. I'm like, well, sometimes I look at like those kind of things like we're like a plumber. On gigs like that, a friend of mine said that once, my friend Chris. We're like plumbers. A good plumber can look at the situation and say, "Oh, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do." Same thing, like, "Oh yeah, you need this, you need this." So if you know the tunes, you know the style of music, you're walking in prepared, you're going to get called back. And so I had lost plenty of gigs for not being as prepared, or just assuming blues is just blues, which of course is the most ridiculous thing to say. I think it's Freddie. No. What's his name? Oh my God. Buddy Guy had said, the blues is simple to, easy music, but it's difficult to play. And that's really true. I think almost any kind of music is, once you get into it, is difficult to play. As simple as blues is 3 chords, but being able to play it well, there's a lot of bad blues out there, So, yeah. And a blues isn't just a shuffle. Okay. There's my soapbox. And Roman Legions, what's up, man? Yeah, those differences keep the blues from sounding the same. Yes. And that's, okay, just on that kind of thing while I'm sort of preaching, there's nothing worse than going to a blues gig and every tune's a shuffle, right? Or you just go like, oh my God, or even just another blues tune. So it's important that you switch them up. And there's lots of tunes in the blues category, in the blues repertoire that are not blues, like, I'm popping these songs as I think of them, they pop out of my head. There's lots of them. I'm thinking of like Etta James tunes. It's not really a blues, but it's close enough, or it's bluesy, or some of the R&B stuff can kind of fall into that. They kind of skirt both sides of it. You can get away with doing a lot of these blues tunes. Why am I forgetting all these song names right now? Which is making me crazy. All right. You get the idea. Like when you watch, perfect example is when you see like Derek Trucks play and Tedeschi Trucks and they're doing cover tunes. A lot of those cover tunes fall really well into a blues gig. Like Aretha Franklin tunes here and there, those will really fall in really well. So yeah, it's nice to break it up and not do a 12 bar. Okay, cool. Back in the 60s, it was Hubert Sumlin someone was playing with Howlin' Wolf, right? Yeah, I was thinking, was it Hubert Sumlin saying that? Are these British blues? Oh, cool, man, that's a great. So Keith is saying, Hubert Sumlin said these British kids want to play the blues so badly, and man, they play it badly. That's hysterical. That's funny. I think Buddy Guy was just being nicer. I like that though. That's pretty good. The most overlooked and most overplayed blues to you. The most overlooked and the most overplayed blues. Okay, it's a good question. The most overplayed blues is something like Stormy Monday or a terrible version of something like Cold Shot, right? That Texas shuffle where it ain't locking in, and well, it's like a band doing like a really bad version of Funk 49, where it's like really part of Funk 49 is the title. It's really groovy. If it's not groovy, it's not going to happen. So those are the kind of painful things for me. Sometimes is to watch a band and you're like, oh, that ain't swinging at all. And the most overlooked blues tunes, I would say, that's a tough one. I just think some of the Little Walter stuff is really great. Some of those instrumentals are really cool. I like those because they're fun, and if you're doing a bit more of a traditional gig, they fit in, and they're pretty groovy, and they're a lot of fun to play. I like those ones. This is like the Little Walter stuff, which I'm a big fan of, and I know Robin is as well. We talked a lot about how much we both learned from those Little Walter tunes. Yeah, and any Ray Charles if you can kind of fit it in, but yeah, I think it's like anything that's done poorly. If you go see a cover band and it's bad, So to bring us back to the main thing, obviously you got to work through playing and sounding better. It just doesn't happen. It's all over time. But if you pay attention to the drummer, if your drummer is good and say something like, this is a drum loop on this track, but I'm always listening to the drummer and where he's hitting that snare drum and the bass drum. And I'm going to try to play off of that. That's really important. So it takes me out of my own world and I start to be involved in the band, right? So that's the main thing. I'm looking at them. I like watching them play, and I'm going to try to maybe match that up with my right hand to get those 2 and 4s with him. And then, think about the bass player. What's the bass player playing? Okay, well, if he's playing those low notes, well, I'm not going to play any low notes then. I'm just going to stick to playing the upper parts of the chords, right? So those are things that you start thinking about when you're on a gig and when everybody's listening, which is hard to learn how to do, right? You're thinking about your part, you're thinking about this or that, but above all, you should be listening to the other guys in the band, and that's the biggest skill. I think that takes a lot of time to build that up and feel confident with that. And then listening. Yeah, that's the big part. Okay. Yep, when a slow blues is draggy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, all these things. That's what happens when people end up playing Stormy Monday. It can be so slow. You're like, oh, my God. All right, so I think we're good for today. So once again, all my courses are 25% off. You got that code for everybody, and I see people are hitting the tip jar and Venmo and all that. And guys, I just super appreciate all of that so much. It's really cool, and I say this every week. The community is really, really cool, and I would love for you guys to share any of this stuff with other people. The interviews. Ben from last week was a ton of fun, and I went back and started watching some of those. I'm going to try to figure out a way to kind of post them, maybe put little segments of them on Instagram, because they're a ton of fun. People are throwing out such great pearls of wisdom. I want to expose it to a larger audience. I think it's been a lot of fun. So, like I said, Osnoy coming up this weekend, Kirk Fletcher the following weekend, Greg Koch the following weekend. And we're going to talk to Rick Beato, who's agreed to do it. Actually, he brought it up, so even cooler. So that's going to be great. And Keith, you want to come on and talk? How would people like to hear Keith come on and talk? Keith is got a great sense of humor. So 5 Watt World, Keith, what do you think, man? You let me know. Greg Koch rhymes with chalk. Greg Koch. All right. Okay. He said it a bunch of times. All right. All right. So, thanks everyone. I thank you so much, Phil. Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. Jason Lachlan has got his live feed on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Corey Congilio is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. So those are some good friends. Check out their stuff. And I will see you all next week. Thanks, guys. Stay cool. I'm going to turn on this air conditioner.